Hello, everybody, and welcome to our session today on how to sell websites to small businesses without cold calling. I know that you're busy. I know that you're running around doing your web design business full time, or you're busy at your full time job trying to figure out how to make this your full time job. Either way, I recognize you don't have a lot of spare time. I'm going to try to give you the best bang for your buck here, the highest return on your investment, your time investment, that is, because you didn't pay anything to be here. So I will do my best. By the way, my name is Justin. I'm one of the co-founders here at SiteSwan, and we've helped thousands of people start their own web design business over the last 15 years. I myself have sold hundreds of websites to small businesses in my career, and I want to start by saying something that it might immediately make some of you exhale a little bit, hopefully. If you're here because the idea of cold calling makes you uncomfortable, you're normal. If you've ever felt your stomach drop thinking about picking up the phone and calling a stranger, you're normal. And if you've ever thought, gosh, there's got to be a better way to sell websites besides cold calling, well, you're definitely in the right place today. Today, we are discussing a strategy designed specifically for people who just don't like cold calling, but they still want a reliable way to sell websites to local businesses doing outreach. Now, let me just preface this by saying cold calling works, okay? It is effective, and it is something that you can technically train yourself to do and overcome the fear of. But I get it. You don't want to, you feel like you can't. So let's talk about avoiding it and still finding success. Today, we're talking about a strategy known as cold email outreach. So, look, I can get you off the phones, but I can't get you completely out of the cold. All right. This strategy uses cold email and direct messaging instead of picking up the phone with just a plain old sales pitch. It'll let you start conversations naturally with business owners. And the goal is not to sell on the first message you send, it's simply to get a response and then follow up later with your offer. Now, there's a few reasons why this works so well. First, it reduces the resistance from business owners because you're not pitching them. You're just starting the conversation, as I mentioned earlier. Secondly, I'll share a tip for how to start a conversation naturally so you can avoid spam filters, which plague most people who attempt to do any sort of selling via email. And it also works because it's a simple, repeatable, and scalable solution. Like you can reach out to a large number of people, and it could be without restriction in terms of the time of day or your physical location. And the strategy really works very well for people who hate cold calling because it prioritizes writing over speaking. This strategy is designed to open the door to the opportunity to make a sale. The sale happens later. With me so far? By the way, if you have questions, you can post them in the questions tab. I'm not going to answer any questions until we get to the questions part of our session today. But my moderators are here to acknowledge any and all of you who are here live, which there are a lot of you. So before we go any further, I need to establish some ground rules with you all. Okay. First, just because we're not cold calling, it doesn't mean you'll never talk to anybody. Okay. At some point, there is going to be a conversation to be had. They might want to get introduced to you on the phone. Plus, you will need to actually present the site to them over the phone, which is part of our training, as you know. Hopefully, you know this. So we're not avoiding human interaction forever. If the idea of ever speaking to a business owner is a hard no, this is probably not the right business model for you. But what we are doing is changing how the relationship starts. Second thing I want to stress is that this is really ideal for what I consider lower cost websites. So think in the range of $500 to $1,000 upfront for a setup fee and $50 to $100 per month in a recurring fee. This is not how you sell a $5,000 custom site to a Fortune 500 company. And my last ground rule is that volume matters more than perfection. Cold outreach is just a numbers game. If you send 50 to 100 messages and then quit, you have not done nearly enough to earn even the right to quit. Your results will come from consistent outreach over weeks and months. I promise you, if you stay committed, this process works. Because this is something I hear all the time. I tried cold outreach and it didn't work. And then I ask them, how many businesses did you reach out to? And the answer is usually, like 50. First of all, if you tell me like 50, I guarantee you it's less than 50. And even if it was 50, that is not enough data to draw a conclusion from. That's barely a test drive. Ironically, that's exactly where most people quit. They quit right around the moment when outreach starts to feel a little uncomfortable. If you can muster up the endurance to get past that point in time, you've likely officially put in the proper amount of outreach effort to actually start getting results. The people who win at this are not more talented than you, they're simply more consistent. You're going to hear that word a lot today. Before I go into start firing off emails, well, you don't know what to say anyway, so don't start doing that yet. You first must seed this warning, and that's to avoid the spam trap. You got to protect your deliverability to avoid landing in the client's spam folder. This might not have occurred to some of you just yet, but let me just set the stage. You send an email to someone, they've never received an email from you ever before. You've emailed a lot of people just like them. That message never even hits their inbox, it goes into spam. Problem. That ruins your outgoing email efforts. So here are some very specific recommendations for you as you begin the cold outreach efforts via email in particular. My first suggestion is to focus on email warm up. And that means to use an email address you already have and have had for a while. I do not think that setting up a new email address specifically for this purpose is a wise move. I'll say that one more time. I do not think that setting up a new email address specifically for sending cold emails is a wise move, because brand new email addresses are viewed very differently by email service providers, and there's a high likelihood that that brand new email address sending out cold emails every day is going to end up almost entirely in the spam folder. Now, look, if you cannot avoid using a brand new email address, or or the email address that you've had prior to this is very unprofessional, like cutiebear143, and not something you'd want to email a small business owner with, then I'm going to suggest you warm up the email address first. So I want you to actually send emails to everyone you know, friends and family, everyone. Have them find your email. If it went to spam, pluck it out of spam and reply to it. It doesn't matter what it says. It's a quick way to do a little bit of email warming yourself. But I'm also going to highly suggest you check out some email warming tools, and they're called LemWarm and Instantly in particular. With both of these services, you can hook up an existing email address to let it send emails from your address and receive emails from other email addresses automatically without you doing anything. They're literally warming up the email address for you. Now, Instantly in particular, we'll take it a step further, and they'll provide you with an already warm email address that you can just take over and start using. Cool part about that is that if you got set up with multiple email addresses, you could easily double your daily outreach by simply sending from multiple email addresses. But both of these services do come with costs, although they're relatively minor. I've used both of them myself and had success with both equally. All right. Next up, let's talk about some sending limits. You have to be mindful of what Gmail and the other email service providers consider excess sending. You got to limit the number of cold emails you send every day to between 30 and 50. That's why, like I just mentioned, multiple inboxes become super helpful, especially if you bring on virtual assistants or sales reps or any assistants at all with outreach. Either way, though, I would highly recommend slowly ramping up the number of emails that you send out that are cold like this over 2 to 4 weeks. So maybe day one, you're only sending out 5, and then you slowly work your way up to the suggested 30 to 50 daily limit. With me so far? All right. By the way, if anything is cloudy or pixelated, I apologize in advance. I've heard some people say that we're not super clear, so my apologies, but hopefully you're getting the message and you can at least read. We don't have too many moving parts here, so not using too much bandwidth. All right, now continuing on avoiding the spam trap, Let's go over the first message rule. The goal of your first email is not to sell. Your only objectives are to land in their inbox and get a reply. This is the key to success. Do not participate in any spammy outreach practices, please. That means do not go buying email lists. Do not go scraping and compiling large lists of emails so you can BCC blind copy 100 people at once like you did in the early 2000s. None of that. The moment you start sending unsolicited bulk emails without permission, which is spam, by the way, you'll see your deliverability just tank. And it takes a long time to recover from that. This cold email strategy relies on targeted one-to-one outreach that feels natural and is not in any way, shape, or form mass blasting. Cool? So let's get down to business. Let's zoom out a little bit. Let's look at the big picture. I'm going to show you the step-by-step outreach framework. Each step has a very specific role. It all starts with finding potential clients, where we determine who we're going to reach out to. Then you reach out to make contact, which is starting a conversation. Third step is to make the offer to see the free website mockup, which happens after someone engages with you. Then from there, if they agree, you build the site and schedule a time to show it to them. Otherwise, you follow up if they don't respond. So let's go one by one. Let's dig deeper. Talking about finding potential clients, this part should all be familiar and or obvious to you. We're looking for two very specific types of businesses. Those with an old, outdated, ugly, or broken website, we'll just call that a bad website for the sake of being succinct. And the second group of businesses with no website at all. And you might be surprised how many legitimate active businesses fall into this category, especially locally, which means huge gap for you to fill. So where do you find them? Well, you got three primary means to do that. The first one is Google Maps. The second one is SiteSpawn's built-in local prospecting tool. And the third one is by searching Facebook business pages and Instagram business pages. Now, there's a surprising number of businesses that have social media profiles but no website. And these folks are ideal prospects because you can direct message them to make initial contact instead of having to locate their email address. We got a lot of info on prospecting. Let's just do a little quick bit together here first, because one limiting factor that separates traditional prospecting from the kind of prospecting necessary for this is that you need to make sure you have a means to contact them. That means you got to find their email address or use the contact form in their existing site, or you message them on social media. And sometimes you might even start your search on social media or across multiple platforms. So I'm going to switch my screen. I'm going to try to and effectively do this. All right. First things first. What did I promise you first? We're going to look at Google Maps. So for the sake of time, I want to go through this very quickly. I have done some pre-searching. And what I typed in here is mobile truck repair in Columbus, Ohio. Guys, maps.google.com. That's what I'm using. Maps.google.com. And you are going to see some sponsored results. And as I go down here, the very first not sponsored result is without a website. Bingo. Second one, diesel mobile truck and trailer repair. Let's click the website link and see what we got. Okay, site's down. There we go. Domain expired. That's always an easy one. Let's see. Columbus mobile truck repair. Not a single image on this website. Not a one. So let's see how we're going to attack this one. Okay, so a couple things that we can do here. The very first thing is I don't see an email address on their site, but I don't even see a contact form in their site. Let's go over to their Facebook page. And what do we got here? I see a link to their website. Boom, email address right here. There you go. There's your first prospect. Okay. You're going to copy and paste that email into your email service, whatever you're emailing from, whatever your email address is. And you are going to initiate the conversation like that. Okay. I can go down this list one by one and keep clicking on these. Here's another one without a website. What I'll do is sometimes I'll Google this business name and the area and find a social media account for them and then I can. By the way, the other thing I would do if this email address wasn't here, I just shoot them a message. Okay, I just click the message button and it opens up a conversation. I can immediately start with them. So that's what I was talking about. How like if you start the conversation via direct message on social media, this is how you would do it. You have to, of course, have a Facebook account, and I'll show you the way what do you call it? The way Instagram works as well. So we can just I don't know. How about this one? Oh, there we go. Another one without a website live. And I'm 86 reviews. My bet is that they have a presence somewhere online. And worst case, you call them or shoot them a text and ask them for their email address. And lots of times you'll get the email address. Okay. Now let's look at that's Google Maps. You can do this all day long. Just go page after page, market after market, category after category. In the local prospecting tool, I know you guys who are clients are familiar with this, but this allows you to basically type in a keyword or industry term as well as a location, and then we'll do this search for you and let you know which businesses exist. Now, we do not and cannot harvest email addresses for privacy purposes, but you can certainly visit these websites and find emails, or of course, you can Google them and find emails as well. Sometimes we'll get taken to it. Oh my gosh. Am I going to see one active website today? Um, oh my gosh. What is going on? I can't visit one website. All right. Finally, just for the sake of demonstration here, let's see if we can find an email address on this site. Oh, there we go. Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So I can reach out to them very easily on social. This site has very little content on the homepage, which cannot be good. There's an email address right there. Okay. So this is another site where I would, find it very easy to upsell them on a new version of their site. I am not sure what a lot of this imagery means or why the navigation you have to hunt like a hide and seek picture challenge to find their navigation. This would be, I think, a very easy sale to make. So, local prospecting tool, we don't give you the email address. You do a little bit of hunting, you'll find lots of opportunities. Next up is Facebook and Instagram. So, on Facebook and Instagram, they both have these search features. And look what I did here. I typed in IT services. It's one of just any industry, whatever. It doesn't make a difference. Any market, Albany, New York. And you'll see right off the bat, if I hover on this first search result. And by the way, when I do my search, I always click on pages for my results. I want to see business pages for my results. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hover over this, and right from here, I can message them, which is really cool. I don't even have to click on it if I don't want to. I can also hit their website. So if I click their, you see what I'm talking about, guys? Do you see the opportunity that is everywhere? We have site after site that is down, that is just not working. What is going on, people? Fire services. And the interesting thing, too, I will say, which I don't love about Facebook in on one hand, but I kind of love it in a different way, is that look, it's giving me handyman services. I typed in IT services. Why are you showing me handyman service? I think because it's got the name it in the business. But shoot, why not? Handyman, here you go. Here's an outdated website. Okay, perfect. Great. This is and their email address is right here. See that, guys? Email address, boom, start the conversation just like that. Or click on their Facebook and message them on Facebook, or do both. Who cares? All right. This is not a difficult operation. So that's that. Over in the Instagram world, so same thing. You could do a search over here on the left-hand side. You could type in whatever you want. And I just typed in landscaper in Virginia Beach. And sometimes you're going to find that businesses have um, I'm going to say a fairly decent social presence, but without a website, they are just leaving a lot up to the algorithm, I guess you can say, in terms of being able to get any sort of reliable source of leads. Check this one out. Here's a post where they put their email address in the post. It doesn't get any easier than this, folks. There is their email address. Email away. If I go to their profile, no website listed. Even if they have a website, guys, something tells me they're not very proud of it because they haven't put it in their bio. Okay. Or, of course, you can message them as well. Now, if you are going to message them, sometimes it pays to follow them first. If you follow them first, you might increase the chances that your message shows up as a priority in their inbox. And then that's it. Otherwise, just click message, we start the conversation, and take it from there. Now, I'm about to show you what you're actually going to put into this box or what you're going to put into the email. So let's go back to our presentation and dig into that. All right, let's proceed. So the next step is the most important part of the entire strategy. It's also where a lot of people just completely blow it because what you're about to send is not a sales message. And if you treat it like one, the whole thing collapses. Your first message is just about making contact and getting a response. Repeat after me: making contact and getting a response. That's it. You're not introducing yourself as a web designer. You are not explaining what you do. You are not offering anything. I want you to think about communicating like a potential customer would. That's the mindset shift. Think about how you reach out to a business for the first time that you're interested in buying from. You don't explain your life story. You don't pitch. You don't do any of that. You just ask a question. So that's what we're going to do here. Simple, specific, believable questions that are relevant. If you want to be an overachiever, here's an optional bonus for you. Include a quick compliment. Hearing something nice about yourself will always get your attention, right? So why not pay them a short compliment? Make it sincere, though. And who knows, maybe they'll be more likely to respond to you quicker. Here are some examples for you. You ready? First one. Hey, I was checking out your photos. Your work looks great. Do you serve, and then fill in the blank, do you serve this area? Next one, easy question. Well, actually, let me, before I get to the next one, I want to point out this one in particular is an easy question for a business owner to answer. Because remember, all we're looking for them is to reply. That's our goal. I don't care if it's one word reply, if it's via email, especially, any reply earns you a bump in your email reputation, which helps you avoid spam in the future. All right. Next one that I have for you, sample is, hey, your store looks amazing. Do you offer, fill in the blank, this product? Now, this is great for any business that has any sort of product available for retail purchase. Another one is, do you have availability for private parties? Now, this one's compliment is worded for a food service. You'll see it says, food looks incredible. But this could apply to lots of other personal services businesses. Think about salons that will offer private parties or private experiences. Okay. So that concept of private does definitely work for a wide variety of businesses. Last example, someone recommended your business. They said you do incredible work. Are you accepting new clients right now? So this is really for any appointment-based businesses. And the more eagerly they reply with a yes, we do, yes, we do, the more you'll be able to help them justify the need for a new website, because people who are super eager to fill their appointment slots are likely in a growth stage, and a really solid website is critical to their success in achieving that growth. So the golden rule for any first message you send is no pitch, no offer, no introduction. Don't even mention your services. Just get a response. And the more you can personalize it per client, the better your chances are of a reply. Once they reply, you're no longer a stranger. You're someone they've interacted with previously. And that, my friends, changes everything. Now, we're at the offer stage. So let's pretend you ask them if they serve this area. They reply, yes, we do. You might say, thanks for letting me know. I was spending some time looking at your site and it felt to me like you could use a redesign. So I actually built a new website for you. Would you like to see it? Now, this is clearly for if they already have a site. I'm saying new website. But if they don't have a site, very similar version goes like this. Thanks for letting me know. I noticed you don't have a website, and I think a business like yours should have a really nice site with this kind of info on it, right? Because you asked them a question, they answered you. How would you know the answer to that question if they didn't have a website, right? So I took it upon myself to build a website for you. That's actually what I do. Would you like to see it? The formula here is very, very simple. Yes, that's a Science One coffee mug. You show appreciation for the reply and then shift the focus to a pitch that's not intimidating and not like in a bait and switch kind of way. These are both nice and casual, natural sounding transitions to the offer. And if and when they say yes, that is when you would go through the rest of the traditional sales process, where you build the site, customize it just a bit for them, and schedule to show them the website homepage design. Rest assured, under no circumstances should you feel obligated to have the site pre-built and ready to go if they respond positively. It's just designed to increase curiosity and response rates. Remember, the sales process that you learn with us, you always want to do a homepage presentation over the phone. Get them on the phone and walk them through the design together. I know you're going to ask me at the end, can I just shoot them a response with the link to the website? Yes, you can. You can. Just I know that doing a homepage presentation is going to greatly increase the likelihood of that turning into a sale quicker. That's all I'm going to say. So the ideal scenario is you get on the phone with them, you walk them through design together. So essentially, if they give you an affirmative response that they want to see it, you just schedule the demo and be like, "Great, I was saving a couple finishing touches until I heard back from you. Can I show it to you over the phone tomorrow or at either 11 or 2? Which works better for you?" That's a really great technique, by the way, when you are trying to set an appointment with someone, is to give them 2 times at different parts of the day, or you could even say tomorrow at 11 or the next day at 2. So that gives them not only 2 different times, 2 different days, and that puts their mind in a place where they can more easily figure out what the right um, what the right answer is for them. All right, let's move on. I see some of your questions coming in. I cannot wait to get to these. All right, so now that you got a positive response from them, your very next step is to create the actual demo websites. Now, once again, you are not creating it until they say they would like to see it. More specifically, when they give you a time to go over it with you. Creating the site is as simple as choosing a relevant theme for the industry and then customizing it for the business with their logo, their brand colors, etc. Now, for those of you who are active SiteSpawn resellers, remember, we have a very clear recommended process for presenting the demo to the customer, which, if you follow it, you're going to greatly increase your likelihood of closing the sale during the presentation. Also, we equip you with what you need to handle any questions that pop up. Of course, actually closing the sale, charging your client the appropriate amount right from your SiteSpawn dashboard. Got training on all of this. Now, because some of you could probably benefit from seeing this either again or for the very first time, let me quickly show you the exact steps you would take to create a demo website for someone that you have pitched. Okay, let's switch our screen. Hope this works. All right. So let's go back to the SiteSpawn dashboard, local prospecting tool. I've done my search. Let's say I've reached out to the homesteading doula. And I'm choosing doula because it's one of our newer themes that, funny story about this one, we created it on accident. We misinterpreted what someone told us about a theme that they had requested and paid for. So, like, well, we might as well keep it because it came out awesome. And there's lots of opportunities you can see. So, all right, the homesteading doula, I'm going to go over here and click create site. And then I'm not logged in. You need to be logged in to your SiteSpawn dashboard. For those of you who are wondering, it is a requirement. It is a requirement. If this gives me 2-factor authorization, I'm going to be so annoyed. Whew. Okay, no, it didn't. All right. So let's resume. What did I type in? Doula in Memphis, was it? I can go any market, but who cares? All right, click search. There it is, homesteading doula. I click create site. So now from this screen, for those of you who don't know, it's going to pull the key information about this business, including the name of the business, the address, city, state, zip, phone number, and then we are going to select the appropriate theme. This one's right here because it's brand new, and click create site. So now what's happening is the system is generating, I reached my site limit on my demo account. That's fun. So we're creating a fully functional website for the homesteading doula with all the most important information about their business preloaded into the site. I mean, literally, if I wanted to, like, while I'm typing to this business, I could create the site for them and like have it ready to go and call them right away. But again, it's best to have something scheduled at a time where you have a little bit of time to prepare for it, because maybe, possibly, perhaps you found their logo online, you found a couple details about them somewhere and you just want to update that onto the site that you're building for them, that does add a nice finishing touch that will, I think, really further separate what you're going to present to them from anything else they've ever seen before. So while this is loading, I just want to point out, oh, there it is. I want to point out a couple of things here. So you'll notice that we pre-populate it with the logo. You have the business name spread out throughout the entire site. We have search optimized content. Like, what are people searching for if they're looking for a doula service in Memphis? Ah, doula services in Memphis, Tennessee. What do you know? This is one of the reasons why Sites on Sites out of the box performs so well in local search without having to bend over backwards to help your client get optimized for search. So beautiful layout, nice design, beautiful colors, all the things you would expect and want to see on a doula website that's professionally built in 2026. And here it all is. You would just simply copy and paste this URL. When the time is right and you've set the appointment with the client, you're going to email that to them, present it to them, just like we demonstrate in our training videos, which I'll quickly show to you for those of you who haven't seen these. If you're relatively new to SitesOne, go to the resources section of your dashboard and watch these training videos. The one I'm referencing right now is lesson number 9, which is how to present a website demo to a prospect, a tried and true script for making sure you have the best possible chance of closing the deal on the first try. Okay? By the way, one thing I'm going to mention as I switch my screen back to our presentation is that if they don't reply to your first message, I want you to follow up in subsequent days. Matter of fact, this is a good time to mention this. I am going to be getting our, we just put this together specifically for you guys who are live here with me today. We put together something called the Cold Email Outreach Playbook. Not only will you get the recording of this video, but it's going to spell out for you the cadence and the ideas for the messages to politely and professionally follow up. In addition to the messages you just saw me post, which was basically the initial message and then the pitch message, all of that we have in a nice clean document that we will send to you so you can just copy and paste right from there. All right? Hang on till the end. We'll make sure that you get that. Now let's talk about numbers, okay? Because this is where a lot of people either get motivated or they get discouraged. There are 3 grounding, undeniable principles when it comes to outreach efforts. I don't care how you're doing outreach. The first, you have to set a daily outreach goal for yourself. Doing it every day matters deeply to your long-term success. The second principle is that small percentages compound. You're not going to have a 90% close rate. Get that out of your head. But even tiny percentages compound very impressively over time. Just think about that savings account you've set up for your child or grandchild or whatever. Small percentages compound over time. Each individual win won't be huge, but together they truly stack up. The third principle to keep in mind is that consistency creates momentum. Every day you do what you told yourself you're going to do, you make the next day's work that much more productive. Meaning, if you didn't reach out to anyone yesterday, guess what? You got nobody to follow up with today. Every day you do the work, you're doing your future self a huge favor. So with all that in mind, let's say you send out 50 messages a day to small businesses. Not 500, not 5,000, 50. And I'm going to assume you're taking off weekends. And let's just say very conservatively that only 1% of those turn into paying clients. That's 10 new clients per month. Now zoom out for a second. Do that consistently for a year. That's 120 clients. And at just $500 up front plus $50 a month, which is our minimum suggested retail price, that, my friends, is $60,000 in setup fees and $6,000 a month in recurring income. And that's not counting any upsells. It's not counting referrals. That's right. We didn't even discuss how referrals come into play here. Talk about compounding. This is why consistency matters more than talent. Most people don't fail because the math doesn't work. They fail because they don't stick with it long enough for the math to even show up. Let me leave you with one final thought before we leave this topic. This right here all takes into account one person's, I'm going to call it minimal efforts. This is nowhere near one person's full-time hours to do prospecting and sending messages to 50 businesses. So why stop there? What if you can send out more? Let's say you send out more, or you hire a sales rep or virtual assistant to send more. You can multiply your efforts and multiply your earnings. Reach out to 100 businesses a day. Watch what happens. 20 new clients a month. That's 240 clients in a year. That, my friends, is $120,000 in setup fees and $12,000 per month from 50 to 100. Now, what if you hired someone to double your efforts? So you're doing your 100, someone else is doing 100. You're at 200 messages a day. You got 480 clients. That's $240,000 in a year in setup fees. You're bringing in $24,000 a month in recurring revenue. And we're still talking the bare minimum. $500 up front, $50 a month pricing on these figures. That's what these figures are based on. Now, that's the beautiful thing about cold outreach, right? Is that there are no upper limits to the number of people you can reach out to each day. That's why so many people, once they start, they love using cold outreach because success feels limitless. Now, to wrap this up, I have some tips for success I want to share with you before we get to questions. I'm going to remind you that what we covered in today's webinar, it all works, but none of it works if you don't put in the effort. So tip number one is your success is direct reflection of the effort you put in, not your intelligence or your personality or whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. Simply put one word, effort, and more specifically, repeated effort, which leads to my second tip, which is to stay committed and be consistent. Consistency, my friends, is boring, but consistency is what compounds. Sending messages once in a while when you feel motivated doesn't move the needle, but showing up day after day, even when it feels quiet, absolutely does. So, naturally, tip number three, hold on to your seats. Don't give up after a week of effort. I mean this. I have seen so many people do one thing for a week and then quit. I've seen people exercise for a week. I've seen people diet for a week. I've seen people start a business for a week. I've seen people do all sorts of things with good intentions for a week. And then when things get a little bit difficult or a little bit tricky or a little bit too time consuming or a little bit whatever, because they're not seeing the results, why would you? It's only been a week. They give up. A week is not a test. A week is barely a warm up. You're not going to get good at this for a couple weeks in, okay? It's going to become a systematic thing where it's just like muscle memory going with the, from thing to thing on your computer. Now, most people quit right before things start working. And it's not because the strategy failed, because the discomfort showed up. You got to be thinking long term. You're not going to land one client and call it a win, right? And also, let me just go back to something, that 1% number that I gave you, okay? I don't want you to think that you are going to be able to, from day one, have a 1% close rate, because the sales cycle is not one day, usually. The sales cycle is oftentimes spread out over days, over weeks, as much as months in certain scenarios. I just spoke to someone who did cold outreach 4 or 5 months ago. And then all of a sudden, someone resurfaced, they felt like out of nowhere, and bought a site from them. They had pitched, they had done a demo, and just they popped up out of nowhere. So you got to remember that landing one client is a win, but it's not the win you're seeking. You're building a pipeline, you're building a system, something that just keeps like feeding your business over and over again over time. And when you think long term, a day with no leads or replies doesn't bother you one bit. Now, my fourth tip is a big one. I just saw a question coming about this. Hire a sales rep or a virtual assistant if you really want to see this thing scale. And that comes with a bonus, right? Because then the work is your responsibility. It's very easy to avoid it. It's very easy to procrastinate. It's very easy to say, I'll do it tomorrow. But when someone else is responsible, the work gets done. Just like when you're responsible for somebody else and you're working a job, do you not show up because you don't feel like it? Nope. You show up anyway because you're committed to someone else. And that commitment is something that we often have a difficult time doing to ourselves. But when you bring someone else on to help you get some work done, they are committed to you and they will get the job done, presumably. Next tip, I want you to focus on industries we have themes for. You saw how easy it was to build a site for a doula, right? This makes building the demo site so much faster. It just removes the friction from the entire process. So don't start going rogue and building sites for industries we don't have themes for at the moment. I highly suggest sticking to the, 300 and something We have a huge number of different industries you could target with our themes. Next tip is to follow up. Now, most people associate follow up with being annoying. So when they don't hear back right away, they immediately assume, oh, they're not interested. I don't want to bug them. I'll just leave them alone. But here's the truth, especially with local businesses. Silence is not rejection. Silence usually means they're busy. Following up is not you being pushy, it's you being professional. I cannot tell you the number of times that I could have easily been sold something if only the person on the other end followed up. So many times. So many times. People in the sales profession think that they're being pushy or they're being bothersome. But people on the receiving end who are busy simply don't have the time or the mental bandwidth to remember or reach back out to a company that had pitched them once. Once. You've got to stay on top. There's a stat that gets thrown around a lot these days that something like 80% of sales require between 5 and 12 follow-ups, but yet less than half of all salespeople go past one follow-up attempt. If you want to achieve financial success you never thought possible, it's likely you'll have to do some things you never thought possible, like follow up a bunch, because persistence pays off. If you send one message and stop, I'm really dwelling on this. I'm sorry, but if you send one message and stop, you're not being polite. You're quitting on yourself. Don't quit on yourself. Now, when you get the recording for today's session, I'm going to send you the Sites One cold email outreach playbook. I mentioned that before. It's got the scripts you can use to follow up with leads along everything else I put on the screen for you, all spelled out, quick reference guide. All right. Finally, my tip for you to walk away with is to utilize a CRM. Stay organized. If you don't track your outreach, you're relying on memory, and that's not going to be reliable when you're reaching out to 30 to 50 new people every day. That's why we created a simple Google Sheets CRM for you, available in the resources section of your dashboard so you can manage your outreach efficiently. Cool? Cool. With that, I would like to open this up for questions. I want to know what I missed, what you want me to cover, what you want me to address. I'm going to get to a couple questions I have seen come through so far from my moderators and jump on them. All right. Let's see. All right, Victor says, my daughter knows several folks that have their own business like event planning, and my daughter has responded that they already have websites. I don't know enough to respond properly. What is a recommended way to reply? So Victor, the biggest thing is there something that makes you feel like they could use a new website? The biggest things you're going to look out for, maybe we should do a session on this. The biggest things you'll look out for is the site mobile responsive? Is the site secure? Are there broken images? Is there enough text on, especially the homepage, that they might have key terms embedded in there? They'll actually get search results. You can do a couple of quick search results to see if you can even find the business in a local search. Those are the big things you're going to find extremely obvious about a site, just like the ones I showed you, bad domain names and stuff like that, missing images that are going to be huge opportunities. If you ever, Victor, needed some help assessing whether or not a prospect would be a good prospect to even approach and what you might say to them, send us a note in our support, or shoot us a message to your coach, and we'd be happy to help you get around that. Let's see, Galleril says, with the prospecting tool, will you include the owner's name now or later? Privacy purposes, we cannot do that. So it's so easy to find, though, just oftentimes on the site, social media. You don't even need the owner's name necessarily. Uh, just ask for the person who is responsible for the website presence. But again, if you're not talking on the phone, knowing the business owner's name is not critical, because you're just messaging the business, which oftentimes is run by the business owner. James is saying Mailer Lite gives you 12,000 emails per month for free. So Mailer Lite, from my understanding, is an email blast tool. It's not a one-on-one email. So I don't think that would apply here, because we're not talking about doing email blasts. We're talking specifically about sending personalized one-on-one emails or messages through social media. All right. Billy said, do you have any suggestions on virtual assistant companies? So yes, from the Sites One dashboard, we do have at least one recommendation. Here it is. Wing Assistant is one that we have seen and work with, and I can recommend confidently to check them out. Resources section of your dashboard. I'm surprised you're not asking a couple of really key questions about cold outreach. I was expecting. Um, Justin, I'll answer this question just because I really love this question. It's a little off topic, but what the hey? He says, how do you make sure people answer the phone for their demo call? So Justin's at the point where he's got someone who said, yeah, I'll check out a demo. Let me see it. They schedule a time and a place to do it. And then he wants to make sure they show up for it. The biggest thing you could do, Justin, is to shoot them a text message. Yes, it's critical, I think, to get someone's cell phone number when you're going to schedule a demo presentation so that you know you're not going to miss them. It's their cell phone. They've got it on them. So you shoot them a text somewhere between the point where they agreed to do it and the point where the demo is going to be. So like if I scheduled a demo for, Tuesday, I would shoot a text on Monday. I'd say, hey, and I'd ask any question about their business they can easily answer. Hey, can you confirm your hours of operation are 9 to 5 Monday through Thursday and 9 to 6 on Friday? That's what I see online. All you need from them is any response. Yes, sure is. Yep, that's right. No, actually, it's that anything, any response that you get from them, you can almost guarantee yourself they will show up for the call. Like, awesome, great. I'm gonna make sure it's included on the site. I'll see you tomorrow too. Talk to you tomorrow too. That's it. That's the absolute simplest way. That is very, very effective. All right, Sammy is saying, does the day of the week matter or the time of the day matter? No, it doesn't, generally speaking. What's more important, Sammy, is you get the reps in. So when it's convenient for you is probably what you should focus on. Mike is chiming in and saying he's had great success with Instagram cold DMs. And one thing that he's found is that if you include how much you are charging before scheduling a demo, it saved him a lot of time, eliminating the tire kickers and price shoppers. That's absolutely right. What's that's worked excellent for Mike. One of the things I would encourage anyone who's just starting out, again, get the reps in, do those homepage presentations. You'll be surprised how many people who say no today, it's not a no forever. If the price is wrong for them, number one, you can work with them on price just to seal the deal. Number two, if they just can't swing it today, they can't manage it today, doesn't mean they never will be able to. So you keep pinging them over time, once a month, once every other month. Hey, just still thinking about you. You ever get a website? Blah, 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 blah. And see what that turns into. What other questions do we have? No one's going to ask me. I cannot believe there are some key questions I really thought you guys were going to ask. Can anyone see themselves getting into doing some cold outreach? Let me just quickly do this. Let me just quickly set up a poll here because I want to know: are you guys in it to win it? When will you be starting your cold email outreach efforts? I'm setting up a poll right now. Today, Monday, never. All right, let's go. Everyone vote. I put up a poll. When will you be starting your cold email outreach efforts? Is this something that you love and you're going to act on immediately? Is this something you really like and you're going to schedule some time to do at the next available moment? Or is it something you cannot see yourself doing because for whatever reason? I would love to know how you feel. And once you vote, by the way, you will be able to see all of the statistics on what everyone else has voted. So just click one of those three options, click vote, and then you will be able to see the results. So far, only one of you is saying you'll never do cold outreach via email. The rest of you seems like you're committing to starting today or Monday. So I want to make this very clear. You have now professed a commitment out loud to this entire community of people. There's over 80 of you here right now to announce that you are going to start an outreach effort that is going to be effective essentially immediately. I'm going to add one more poll because I want to know, out of the people who were here, have you done, I want you to be honest, okay? I want you to be honest on this question I'm posting now. You all are here because you're trying to avoid cold calling, presumably, or just want to get smarter about outreach. How many of you have done more than 50 cold calls for websites? And I want you to be 100% honest. Have you done 50 or more? And what I'm really looking for to know is, are the people here looking to do things smarter and more efficiently, or are they looking to do things because they just can't bring themselves to even do cold calling? So I'm very curious what your answers will be on this one. And don't round up to 50, okay? Don't round up to 50 like everyone else does. I want you absolutely confident that you've done 50. Like you've done way more than 50. You don't have to like, oh, could have been 50. No, like 50. Of course I did 50. That's the kind of yes I want. Of course I did 50. Yeah. Good. And I'll tell you something else, okay? We're talking about cold outreach. Again, cold calling does work. If you can bring yourself to do it, sprinkle in some cold calling, sprinkle in some cold email outreach, you will not be disappointed in the results that you get so long as you're consistent. All right. Last round of questions, and then I'm going to cut you guys loose here. I want to be done in less than an hour. Last opportunity for questions. Is there anything you guys want to run by me? I'm going to seed one question I thought you were going to ask. Okay. I thought you were going to say, do I have to switch up my wording with every email I send? The answer is ideally yes. Maybe not every email, but I'd prefer if you did not send the exact same email 50 times a day. My recommendation is to change it up even a little bit, a couple words here, a couple words there. If you can make it more personal, that will go a long, long way. Did that spur any other questions that you want to ask? Or are we done? So Kevin's like, why should you change the wording? Hey, Kevin, if you are going after the same industry, the only reason why I recommend changing up the wording is because it becomes a pattern that the email providers can detect and realize that you may be trying to fly under the radar with your outreach efforts. They ideally don't want you blindly messaging businesses. So if you can personalize it in even the slightest way, that is what's going to ensure that your emails are less likely to be picked up in in spam filters. Manny, this is the best compliment I've gotten. Manny gave me the biggest compliment. You're the David Goggins I need. Guys, if you don't know who David Goggins is, I want you to Google him and research him a little bit because he is a monster, and I am nowhere near what David Goggins is capable of at all whatsoever. But thank you, Manny. I really appreciate that. It's a huge compliment. Sammy says, how long will it take to do this for 50 per day? Sammy, you tell me. Everyone's different. Everyone's different. I want you to do it and report back. We're going to have a coaching call, by the way, for all of you active SiteSpawn clients. We're going to be doing a coaching call. We'll actually be doing a 14-day launch plan call next week, same time, same place, February 6th on Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll talk about the 14-day launch plan, and I want you to come with some of your wins that you have had since the last time we spoke. Love to do that with you. We're doing another coaching call at the end of February on the 27th. I want even more wins there. You guys will have 3 to 4 weeks worth of time to be doing your cold outreach efforts. I want to hear about them. James says, do we have to use a platform like Instantly, or can we just use our email service provider? As I was sharing with you, James, it's best to kind of warm up your email address. You could use any email address that you currently have. Instantly is just a way to accelerate the warm-up process, or they'll actually give you an email address you can use. Kevin, can you use your personal email account and CC your business address? I don't see why not. I can't think of a good reason why you can't do that. I don't know if it'll, and it might improve your reputation for your business email address. But I also wonder if CC will have any impact on deliverability. I can't say for certain, Kevin, if that's a great idea or not. If you're concerned about, like, you want to use your business email address one day, go ahead and put some effort into warming it up, and that'll be your way to go. Tom is saying, can I cold text a business? I don't know of any laws or restrictions against that. I know in Texas you can't text a person if they haven't, like, an individual, if they did not request it. I'm not going to recommend wholeheartedly going out and texting. But I've worked with a lot of service-based businesses where I'm like, hey, can you do whatever for me? And they're like, yeah, text me your information. Like, they do text. I just think it might be a little bit scammy or spammy. Like, we get those texts out of nowhere. It's like, hey, can you? But you're like, I'm not answering this. So they might be a little suspect about that. But I don't know. Then again, like my wife's business, like, they communicate 80% of the time via text with their leads and their clients. So it might depend on the business. I can't give you a firm answer on that. If anyone has done extensive text marketing one-on-one, would love to hear how you have uh, done with that. All right. It's 2:00. I'll let you guys go. Thank you so much for being a part of this today. I really do appreciate it. You guys have been phenomenal. Large crowd with excellent questions. If there's anything that you are left wondering about, please do not hesitate to reach out. We're more than happy to get back with you. And of course, keep an eye on your email, because you will get a recording as well as the special document I promised you, your playbook for email cold outreach. Right now, a recording will start as soon as I press stop. So if you want to see it again from the beginning, by all means, catch parts you missed. Otherwise, have a great rest of your Friday, a nice weekend, and start your cold email strategy now. All right? All right. See you all later. Have a great day. Bye.